hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip
Bars is back.
hip hop,
Sam
hip
Ant.
hop,
Oh God,
hop,
what's
hip
up with you?
hop.
I done watched them niggas do interview after interview. They not culture vultures, the culture something they been into. So if you never gave them a view, I recommend you do. Cause when they question guests, they message is not subliminal. It don't matter if you a rookie or at your pinnacle. They gon' touch on stuff that you did and what you finna do. It's uncensored too. Yo, they never had a goofy show, but I saw some boys on they show acting goofy though. Well, if you think they L stupid though, you would get exposed like the hoes on OnlyFans letting coochie show. To introduce the show, when I sent this to Sam, asked, oh God, that nigga said, oh God, you the man, Cass. I spit white like a clan mask, and I'm a hustler. I could stand out on the beach and sell sandbags. Some things can't last, but this ain't just a podcast. This is Sam Ant and oh God, Cass. Hip hop uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Hip hop uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Oh God, driving Sam Ant riding passenger side, and you heard it out the mouth of the greatest rapper alive. Hip hop uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Hip hop uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Oh God, driving Sam Ant riding passenger side, and you heard it out the mouth of the greatest rapper alive. Go gang.
Welcome to another episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. I'm your brother, Oh God, from Hip Hop News Uncensored, and sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man Sam Ant, CEO of Viral Hip Hop News, in the building for a very special edition of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. We got a special guest in the building. We got the good brother Brandon Hammond on the podcast.
Yes.
What's good with you, family?
What's up, family? What's good, man?
You know,
just hanging in there, man. Appreciate y'all having me on. I'm honored, man, to be on.
it's an honor to have you, man. You know, it just shit's crazy because we practically grew up with you, brother. Man, it ain't even no debate. We grew up with you, man, watching you from Space Jam to Menace II Society to Soul Food, man. We definitely grew up, you know what I mean, watching you and definitely appreciate you and all your great work, man. And we know that we were supposed to have this interview a couple of days ago when real life happens, and I obviously as it does. You caught COVID, man. Real situation. Bro. How are you feeling, man? How's the recovery?
I'm feeling well, man. Thank you for asking, man. It's crazy because so I had, you know, when you have symptoms, used to be just, oh, it's a cold, it's a flu, but immediately, right, you can't help but think about COVID. So I actually took a test when I had like the fever, the body aches, and the chills, but the test came back negative. Wow. So I'm thinking I'm good, but it just kept lingering, y'all. It was just like I was real lethargic, and my lady was like, I think you should take another test. So I took one last week when we were supposed to have the interview, and it came back positive, man. And I'm not gonna front, man. It was a bit of a boogeyman thing for me, like, because I had never had it. I was like the Matrix dodging it, man, for 2.5 years. Right. So I was a bit worried, but honestly, other than like being lethargic and, you know, dealing with some breathing issues, what I'm still kind of recovering from, I was fighting it, man. So we here, you know what I mean? But I appreciate y'all patience, man, and just y'all willingness to work with me, bro.
No doubt. You know, it's crazy. I told him I had COVID in December, and I told my cousin the same thing. It's almost like, I don't know if it was worse that I knew I had COVID, like, oh shit, that COVID part in me, than the actual symptoms itself. So I definitely feel where you're coming from, man. And
that part.
Thank God.
How did you do with it, man? Was you asymptomatic, or did you have all of the symptoms with it?
My whole family got it, bro. So first my wife got it. She got it from her job, and then she brought it home to me, and we have 2 children, and then they got it. My son was asymptomatic. My daughter had mild symptoms, but luckily we wrote it out, and everything was cool.
Man, I'm glad to hear that, man. Y'all stay safe out there, man. Like you said, we still forget, man. We still in a pandemic, so y'all stay safe, bro.
Word up.
Definitely, yeah, man. Definitely glad you made it 100% recovery and on Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. The rap with us.
Yeah, man.
We got Brandon Hammond, man, on here, legendary actor on the show. So I'm gonna start it off like this, man. What's up with you? How you feeling, man? We know you're just getting over the COVID, but how's everything else going in your life right now, man?
Honestly, man, things couldn't be better. Honestly, I mean, it's funny because even in this, you know, process trying to set this interview up, man, I was like right in the thick of a short film that I had co-wrote and directed with my lady. We were winners of the John Singleton Film Competition presented by the Pan-African Film Festival. And we actually won this contest 2 years ago in 2020. Of course, COVID happened, so we got shut down for a year. Then we started back up in 2021 of June, and we filmed it and we premiered at the 30th anniversary of the Pan-African Film Festival. So it's been exciting, man. That's kind of what I'm doing now, man. I'm focusing more behind the scenes, writing, directing, a little bit of acting in my own stuff, but for the most part, man, my focus is more as a filmmaker. So it's been exciting time, bro. It's been real exciting.
Dope. Take us full circle, man, because obviously you're in your director's chair now doing some acting, but you're more behind the scenes. But we know you famously as some of your legendary roles and
that's right,
characters throughout your movies and TV series. And you started early in the 90s, early 90s. So
yes, sir.
Take us back, man, and talk about how you got into acting and got into the field.
Of course, man. So I started acting when I was 5 years old, man. My mother, God rest her soul, man. She got me in the business, man. Think about it, man. My mom was 19 when she had me, teenager. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So it wasn't, there was no Google and YouTube videos on how to manage. And, you can learn anything on the internet now. But my mom, man, she was a, teenager when she was pregnant with me. She moved to California on an internship. My mom was like a brainiac, man. So she had a internship. She was an engineer, and it was difficult. But she had been getting like all these compliments about my personality as a child. Like, oh, you should think about getting him in the industry, getting him in the business, da, da, da. So she, I think, read books at the time, and I started off as a background performer. For some of those that don't know that, it's like an extra. Right. So I was like one of the kids in the classroom, or one of the kids on the playground, or the kid walking across the street. And I don't know if y'all remember, in the 90s, James Earl Jones had a show called Gabriel's Fire. And so let me ask you back. So the way it worked, if you wanted to be in SAG, that's the Screen Actors Guild, you had to be in the union. But in order to get in the union, you had to do union jobs. So it was like the chicken or the egg, right? Like, which comes first? Right. You could only do union jobs if you were in the union. But so they had this process where if you got enough vouchers, I think it was 3 at the time, you could then become SAG eligible. But another way to kind of bypass that was by getting a SAG waiver. And that's what happened to me, because on the set of Gabriel's Fire, one of the kids who had a speaking part didn't show up. Wow. And it's crazy because I still got this on my resume too. And I was, the scene was, I was one of the kids in a foster home. And this particular character, he had to say 3 words. And the 3 words were, she's on drugs. But that kid didn't show up. So the producers are scrambling like, yo, where can we need a little black boy to say these little 3 lines. And there I was. So I said these 3 lines. That actually got me a SAG waiver. Wow. Got into the union, got an agent. Then I started doing commercials. The first commercial I did was a Chevrolet commercial. And I also did like McDonald's commercials, Pringles commercials. It's funny because you can find some of this stuff on the internet too. And the first movie I did was Menace II Society. Yeah. As young Caine. That was the first film that I did. And interestingly, I actually went out for Jada's son, Anthony. But I didn't get that part. Yeah, I went out for Jada Pinkett's son, Anthony, but didn't get it. But shout out to those Hughes brothers, man. They thought I was good enough to be young Caine, drinking in my onesie, drinking the beer, holding the gun, So right. That was, the rest is history, I guess, man.
Yeah. So take us back to that time, because that movie is such an iconic movie right now. It was almost like a trend-setting movie when you really think about it. Take us back to you getting that role and then having to be around all those iconic characters. Probably not then, but now we look at them like, man, I got so many great actors there. Talk about your time on the set there as well.
Honestly, man, and it's so funny because people ask me often, how much of that do I remember, bro? And I
Right.
remember vividly. Like, honestly, it's so funny because I remember being in the makeup chair and the makeup and hair department, they were like, yeah, you know who your dad is, right? And, I'm like, 8 years old. They're like, Sam Jackson. And at the time, that name didn't ring a bell to me of like who he would end up being. But they was like, yeah, man, he's this really talented actor. He's been in, at the time he was in Jungle Fever and, Do the Right Thing and stuff like that. And that didn't ring a bell. So it's just crazy that like even then people knew, obviously like this guy, Sam Jackson, is pretty amazing. And it's funny, I remember hanging out with Lorenz a lot because Lorenz was actually like in school. And I forget how old he was, but he was a teenager, he was in high school. And I remember because you have a studio teacher on set and he's coming in the trailer with me to do school. And it was crazy because my mother was, from the South, strict, didn't take no stuff, but she had to be okay with me cursing. Because if y'all remember, the line is like, what the, I'm doing a lot of, stuff that an 8-year-old shouldn't be doing, So that was an adjustment for her, but it was the first realization for her, like, wow, my son is really an actor and he has to play this character, and to now, like y'all say, to look back on that now, Menace, man, it's, like I said, it's a classic, and there's always this debate, what you like better, Boys in the Hood or Menace, and I'm biased, I'm not gonna front, I'm a Menace guy, so.
Yeah.
What about y'all? What y'all, Menace or Boys? Are both?
I gotta go with Menace, man. Even though Boys in the Hood is classic, Ice Cube and everything, I think Menace really just captured that, LA street life way different than anybody's ever done it before.
I'm gonna go with Boys in the Hood. I'm gonna disagree with y'all, man. And it's only, I love them both. I love them, but it only is. I'm reminded of when we first started watching Boys in the Hood. I don't know if you remember this, cuz we're in Grandma and Grandpa's room. We're cursing like a motherfucker because we just watched Boys in the Hood, and our Pat ratted on us and we got in trouble. I'll never forget that as a kid.
That's
that movie always
hilarious.
kind of stuck with me. That was the first time I really started cursing and stuff. So shout out.
That's
Shout out
hilarious.
But
Yeah,
okay,
man.
so,
Like you say, shout out to both. No wrong answer.
absolutely, both classics. So you do Menace II Society, you play Caine, and then things absolutely blow up for you. You're probably one of the most popular childhood actors that we've ever seen. You starred in Strange Days, Waiting to Exhale, Mars Attacks. You played Michael Jordan in Space Jam, and then obviously one of your most iconic roles in Soul Food. As we get through those, just talk about your journey from Menace II Society, getting into the actual game now, being a force in the game, and where life took you from there, from Menace II Society.
Bro, man, y'all got the receipts, bro. I love it. And no, you're absolutely right. Like after Menace, it really just the trajectory of my career just kind of, it just took off. Like you said, man, it really felt like everything I was, at one point, felt like everything I was going out for, I was booking. I even tell you one story, like when you talk about like Waiting to Excel and Strange Days, right? So I played Angela's son in both of those films. I actually auditioned for How Stella Got Her Groove Back. And they wanted me for that too. But the producers felt like it would start to look weird. Like, why is this same kid always playing her son and everything? Right. So they actually, for that reason, I didn't get it. But yeah, man. And then I forget almost what was next, but I feel like it was Waiting to Excel after Menace. But like every experience, man, was just amazing. And it's funny how like each experience kind of catapulted me to the next one. So talk about Soul Food, George Tillman Jr., man, shout out to him, writer and director of the film. He saw me in The Fan with Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro. And I remember the first time I met him, I didn't even audition. He just wanted to come. I was playing Pee Wee League football at the time. And he just wanted to get to know me and my mom. And that was the first time a director really just like wanted to get to know me. And it's funny looking back on it, I get it because I was essentially playing him when he was a kid. That was like his life story. So he wanted to make sure that I kind of like embodied that, embodied Ahmad in that film. And that experience, man, was just it goes without saying, man, it was one of the greatest experiences of my acting career. It is the film that most people know me from. And it's kind of dope, man, to have like social media now where you kind of can give flowers to people who did stuff, you know, back in the day, you know, and then like you guys like offering your platform, like it's amazing, man. I'm honored and humbled to really, like you say, be in films that, I mean, people bring up stuff that I don't even be thinking they remember, like Tales from the Hood.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Bruh. Like people are like, yo, man, I grew up with that movie, man. That movie scared the shit out of me. Like, it's crazy. Like the movie, the Blue Hill Avenue. Like these are like, people are like calling these classic films, and I'm just like, wow, like I guess I did that, you know? So
Yeah.
Right.
no, it's an amazing experience, man.
So you do Soul Food. It comes out, you know, in the theaters. How does life change for you after that? How much of a bigger star do you become after Soul Food?
Bro, after Soul Food, so I'm not sure if y'all familiar with, like, there was like a big three agency. It was William Morris, CAA, and they're still around, and I think one of them might have merged, but it was CAA, William Morris, and ICM.
Okay.
And like to get to that level, you have to be like referred. And at the time, Vivica, and shout out to Vivica, man, who's still like, she's like a godmother to me, man. She's amazing. She was with William Morris, and I ended up getting with William Morris as a result of Soul Food. I won an NAACP Image Award for that role. I mean, people, honestly, like, that was the game changer. Because at the time, I was getting offered roles. Like, after Soul Food, I was like, not even having an audition. I actually got offered The Wood. And that's actually one of my biggest regrets. That's one of my biggest regrets, man. Like, my mother and I read the script, and we actually turned it down, man. And that's actually a regret. Like, and I went out for Big Mike, man. But shout out to Sean Nelson, man, who bodied that role. But, you know, because I'm a believer that everything happens the way it's supposed to. And, you know, he was supposed to be, you know, Big Mike in that, man. But, yeah, man, that was a regret. Like, if I can do that one over, I definitely would not have turned that one down, man.
How often do you go back and watch those movies? Do you ever go back and look at those ever, or how does it make you feel watching them now at your age?
You know what? Every now and again I do. Like, especially, I mean, you know, like during the holidays, Soul Food is like a film that plays all the time. And I'm always reminded, man, of friends, family. Hey, I saw you on TV the other day. You know, you was on my TV last night. And the power of the meme, the crying face, like, dude, like, I probably get sent something or tagged once a week, once every couple weeks at least, with somebody who means my face. You know, like the playoffs is going. I remember actually that it was the verses between I think it was it the Locks versus and I mean, we all know who won that, right? Obviously, right?
Yeah.
And it was the crying scene. It's not my fault. It's all y'all's fault. And they were saying that was what Jim Cameron was saying to his crew, like to Dipset, after they got, I don't want to say body, but you know,
they got body.
After they lost, they got body. Yeah, it's okay.
Body,
cool. Right?
They know it.
They know it. Yeah. So they was using that scene for like that moment, bro. And they was like, bro, are you getting residuals for this? So yeah, man, it changed my life completely. Like to the point where you still see the residuals of that today.
Right. You know, like I said, we grew up watching you and looking at a black man, a black boy at the time, pretty much about the same age as us. We're growing up with you. It's almost like you took a piece of us into those films because it was so relatable, right? But now that we're adults, you kind of look at it from the outside looking in. And how was your childhood affected from this? Because you're doing all these great things, all these movies coming out. You're looked at all over the world as this great actor, but we all know we love just going outside and playing. We like doing things and just being normal. So how was life for you as just a child, as Brandon Hammond, doing all this time of success?
Man, I'm glad you asked that, honestly. I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. You know, imagine. So we all know, right, that the development of a child's brain, right, is nowhere. It's not comparable to an adult.
Right.
But yet you're asking children, right, to try to navigate growing up in an adult industry. That's all you're around. There's a lot that goes on in the industry, y'all. Like real talk. Like if it wasn't for my mother, her grounding, my family, I'll say this. I see. It's like, you know, when you hear these stories, man, of former child actors and the burnout rate and how high it is, and it actually is something for me. It's like, it's sad because I know we kiki and it's shits and giggles, but I get it, right? Like I get how that could have affected someone negatively, and all it takes is just one decision, one wrong decision, or just not having this foundation be set, you know, for that to take place. And I could see how that easily could have been me, you know, because you see a lot. There's a lot that you're exposed to. There's adults that, you know, are doing adult things, you know, and it's navigating that can be difficult if you don't have the right foundation.
Yeah.
And for me, thankfully, I had that foundation with my mother and with my family, that I was able to navigate it pretty well, I would say. But I definitely was exposed to stuff that you would be like, yo, this kid is 13 years old. He shouldn't be exposed to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm blessed, man, and thankful, you know, that I had that foundation, bro.
Would you be able to give us any examples without really telling them, you know, implicating anybody of the type of stuff?
You know what? Absolutely.
Right.
I'll put it this way. I'm 13, and let's just say it was a young lady, like late 20s. I'm 13.
Mm-hmm.
Writing love letters that my mother found. Like, and it was like stuff that you be like, this is wild. And it's crazy because like, it's funny, I've actually never like told this story like publicly, but like few people know it, like that I know. And it's interesting because I tell the story to dudes and women, and it's different reactions, right? And keep in mind at the time, as a young man who 13, y'all know that age. That's the age where hormones is raging.
Yeah.
Where, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
my 13-year-old hormone like is not processing that this is a grown ass woman, grown at like late 20s, early 30s. I'm 13 years old, y'all. Like, what's the fuck? Like, you know? So it's stuff like that, you know. And y'all can use use imagination a little bit. But, and let me keep it like, look, let me say this. I'm not in no way is this like a Me Too, like this is more just the truth. Like you say, this is just like legit, like, you know what I'm saying, stories. And my story is just one of several, I'm sure. Like, I'm sure.
You know, it's crazy because you said, like, you put it right on the head as a 13-year-old dude, and we sitting here laughing because we know at 13, if you would have had a 28-year-old, the notch on your belt with there is unbelievable with your boys, right? But think about that, like, and now I'm thinking about it with Soul Food, like all those legendary actors and actresses that were around you, you were the star of that shit. It was you.
Yeah.
So you can see how some adult females will look at this like, yo, this dude is fly. But on the flip side, and let's just keep it 1,000, and it's 100% wrong. But if a male actor was to do that to a young female actress, would we be sitting here laughing and joking the same way we do? Or would you be, or would anybody laugh and joke if you were told that story? So how, like, Although
Bro.
like, you're not gonna meet too, and you're a real one, and that's cool. But it was, as a young man, that's kind of crazy.
Right. And you know what? I'm like, and you dude, it took me decades to even realize, because I'm laughing along with, like, I'm like,
Right.
man, you know, but it took me more maturity, obviously, now as a grown man. I'm not a father, but I want to be. But it took that maturity and just that understanding of how wrong that is and how wrong that was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're absolutely right. Like, you look at it now, like, that's sick, right? Yeah, like, I mean, come on. 30-year-old and a 13-year-old,
Right.
like, who's just now kind of discovering himself, and it's yeah, man, it's definitely something that I definitely can look back on and just like, wow, like it's wrong, and it, you know what, man, it takes the responsibility. What I feel like there needs to be better checks and balances in place in the industry, man, especially for these child actors, man. You know, because it's truly, like, it is at times you feel like, and what can they get out of you? You know, but do they actually care about the psychological, damage, if you will, that may be occurring, to some of these kids? And look, I am so blessed and happy to have had the career that I've had. Let me make sure to say that. It allowing me to be on platforms like this. But we just also, like you say, have to keep it real too, and have better checks and balances in place for young child actors, man.
We seen that you did a lot of TV series and shows and stuff after Soul Food, but people would ask what happened after that. Why no more real prominent major movie roles after Soul Food? Can you kind of get into that for our audience?
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. So life happened. I mean, like you see, I kind of alluded to a little bit. My mother, she passed away from cancer, colon cancer. She was young. Man, it's tough. My mom was my best friend. She was, anybody that knows me and growing up, in the industry, my mom was right there. And what's amazing about her, man, she kind of like, she pushed back on the, I don't know if you heard of the momager reputation, right? The mom that's on set, difficult to work with. That was not my mother, man. She was just the complete opposite. People loved being around her. And it's crazy because we didn't have a history of cancer in our family. And she had stage 3 colon cancer. And she was a fighter, about 2.5 years, 2 years. And then she succumbed to it, unfortunately. And that was difficult, y'all. Like, I remember asking, actually, a fellow actor, man, Jermaine Williams, shout out to him. You've seen him in probably The Great Debaters and Matt Albert.
We've interviewed him, yeah.
And he was, that first question I said, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, you're going to keep living. And at the time, man, I really felt like I didn't have a reason to do anything. Like, she was the reason, y'all, that I got into this. She, film, TV, just writing, directing, even, like, she produced everything I did. And I was going through the motions, y'all, for at least 2-3 years. Just going through the motion, existing, y'all. And Black man therapy is legit. Like, I get it. I get the stigma. I was with the stigma. Like, I wasn't, nah, man, I'm not crazy. I don't need to talk to nobody. I feel like if you Black, you should be in therapy of some kind, anyway.
Yeah.
But Black men, man, we got traumas out here, man. And that was one of my greatest traumas, man, as well. And it was tough, man. It really was. And therapy helped me, honestly, to get through it. Like, honestly. And I'm not talking about just talking to a friend, talking to your pastor. Nah, I'm talking about, like, legit lining up for therapy, somebody who don't know you, who could be objective to the shit that we go through. And that really helped. So that was a big, that hit a lot, man. And it took a while to kind of get back on the saddle, you know. It took a while, man, to kind of get back on the saddle with that. So I know when people ask that, you know, and I'm sometimes reluctant, you know, to share that deeply, man. But you know, like I said, you guys are, like I said, I'm fan of y'all, man. So you know, I appreciate y'all asking.
Appreciate you sharing for sure. So is that the reason why ultimately you didn't take the Wood role, was because of your mother passing and during all that transition during that time?
Well, so the Wood actually was my mother was still here, and
Okay.
so that's why I like one of the biggest regrets. And you know, bro, it's one of the things like how you read a script and sometimes like how you interpret something. Like we read it, and I can actually tell you what it was. Real talk. So y'all remember the sex scene in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he had sex, and it's so dope. I love how they filmed that because it was real. It was awkward. It was funny. Cause sex, man, ain't, you know, the first time ain't always like this glorious moment, right? It's some like weird, you know, give me some awkward shit. But we read that, and I think coming off of Soul Food, my mother at the time didn't think that I needed to be doing sex scenes like at that particular juncture. So it was one of those things where, but didn't realize when we saw it how real and how just dope it was the way they shot that. You know, like it wasn't exploitive. It was just like, yo, that's a lot of times that's a lot of people's first experience. You know what I'm saying? So that was like probably I believe that was why we took that at the time. And because the last film that I did was a movie called Our America. And shout out to Ernest Dickerson, man. He was Spike Lee's cinematographer for like all his dope shit, you know, Malcolm X, Do the Right Thing. And he was the director. He directed Juice. He was the director of Our America. And I think I was 18 years old. And yeah, and then that was like the last thing that I acted in. And like I said, my mother, she had some health challenges. I had some health challenges at the time. And it just became like, it was, so with the thing too with acting is there's millions of dollars that they're investing, right, in these actors and these young people. And you always have to like get these like physicals and things like that. And it just became exhausting. I'm not even gonna lie, man. It became exhausting. And then once my mother got sick, man, I wasn't right and needed to get right, you know. And like I say, thankfully, man, to my family, man, they big support to them. So yeah, I just had to get right, man, and here we are, man. Now, I guess Brandon Hammond 2.0, if you want to call it that.
Right. Why, in your opinion, did you think it was never like a? I know they had like a couple spinoffs and things like that. As far as like Soul Food, like it was like a TV show I think they had at one point. How'd you feel about that? And how'd you feel about a part 2 to that movie? Was that ever suggested or brought up? And if so, would you have done it?
I'm gonna keep it real, man. I wasn't a fan of the show, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Right.
I wasn't a fan of the show. I feel like some things should be left alone, you know. And look, I'm okay with what like nostalgia and, you know, wanting to maybe do a callback to stuff. I think they're doing a house party. Is it a reboot? A 2 reboot? I think it's a reboot. Like, not a big fan, man, of the show. Now, there was talk of a Soul Food 2, and it's funny. George Tillman and I, we've had conversations about it. At the time, this was like 3 years ago, I believe, he was in the process of trying to find somebody to write it with him. And I remember him asking me, what do I think Ahmad would be you know, today, because I believe there is gonna be like a legit sequel, like picking
Yeah.
up like 20 years later where the film left off. And it's funny, I don't know if y'all know, this September will be like 25 years, like the actual 25th
Holy
year
Didn't know.
anniversary, man, of Soul Food, bro. Right, it's
Wow.
crazy, it's crazy. But yeah, there were talks of doing an actual sequel, picking up, you know, 20 plus years later with the family, man. And like now, I think Ahmad, he's supposed to have a family, have kids, and honestly, whatever capacity George would want me to be in the film, involved in the film. Because by the way, he's kind of like a mentor. He actually he told me when I was on set that I was gonna be a director, because I was always the kid hanging out with the directors in between takes. Like whenever I wasn't supposed to be filming, I was next to him. I was in the video village asking, how do you do this shot? Like, how did you achieve this? What was your reason for doing that? So he always knew that the trajectory of kind of my career, my life, would take me more focused behind the camera. So I say that to say, whatever capacity, man, even if you want me to do some writing with him or, you know, shadowing him on set, I'm down, man. Because I mean, this film, like I owe a lot to it, you know. I owe a lot to it. It's like you said, you know, a reason why a lot of people know who I am. So whatever capacity they want me, man, absolutely, I'll be a part of it.
I definitely think it could be successful when you look at like The Best Man too. I think that was great. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, man.
Yeah, that was
I
dope.
love y'all. Y'all got some great taste, because honestly, that's one of the better sequels to a film. Like, 'cause, you know, sequels sometimes, man, y'all know they hit and miss.
Yeah.
But Best Man 2, is it what, Best Man Holiday or?
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, honestly, that was one of the better. I can honestly say that sequel was as good, if not better, than the first. Legit.
Realistic writing involved. Like we seen the
Facts.
characters, we got to love the characters, we got to invest in the characters, and it picked
Facts.
right up where it left off with the drama between
That
the
part.
brothers, and it was dope.
Yeah.
And I think if Soul Food
That
was
part.
done, I think it had to have the same kind of nostalgia to it. We need the same people.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Big Mama's gone, but we need those characters to
That
kind
part.
of relive that nostalgia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely
transition.
right.
Word. I want to transition a little bit, if you don't mind, and talk about one of your cast members. You said that she was like your aunt, and that's Vivica A. Fox. Now, she obviously, or I don't know if you heard, got into a little bit of controversy last week because of the passing of Kevin Samuels. I don't know if you heard about Kevin Samuels. No, Kevin Samuels.
Didn't hear about that.
YouTuber, definitely very polarizing gentleman, speaking on relationships and things like that. Vivica A. Fox had some things to say about him that people did not like. What is your thoughts on that, if you don't mind me asking?
What she say? So I obviously know about Kevin Samuels passing. What did Viv? Y'all give me maybe Cliff notes. Like what did Viv say?
I don't know if we have it recorded anywhere. She basically said it was karma. That he said a lot of things disrespecting black women, and that sometimes karma smacks you in the face kind of hard. So little insensitive. We talked about it on the platform. We didn't agree with what she said, but we don't know that woman like that. We don't know her to step back and judge or anything based off of that take. We didn't agree with it. But if you didn't hear it, then it's all right not to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can give her just I mean, I believe y'all solid dude. I believe that that's the gist, kind of right of what it was. I think Vivica keeps it real. Like Vivica she don't pull no punches, and her opinion is you know what they would say, no chaser. Like she's pretty straight shooter. I do want to actually speak though, because the overall theme of what you're saying, I've seen a lot of people speak on Kevin Samuels' death. Like a lot of people speak in ways almost like celebrating it.
Yeah.
It's, and I'll say this, man. You cannot agree with a person. You can even say that there was a lot of problematic stuff that person said and this, that. For me, where I draw the line is celebrating anybody's death, just on a human level. On a human level, that's something that I can't do, because it's so funny, right? The same karma that some people are attaching to that, do they not think that that works with them speaking in like a celebratory way on someone's death too?
Talk about it.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so it's weird how that karma thing seems to have a limit, right? But if you believe in karma, that should work like in all aspects, right?
Facts.
So for me, the things that I've been seeing is I have no problem with anybody taking issue or saying, hey, you know what, I feel like this dude's message was problematic, feel like it was toxic, feel like it was divisive with Black men and Black women. Cool. But I think about it on a human level, like I think his son, you know, that man's mama is grieving, you know, his passing, and I mean, short of like being like a dictator, I just can't, as a human, it's difficult for me to celebrate anybody's death. I just, you know, that's kind of what, you know, where I'm at with that, man. So, and obviously not speaking, like you say, speaking specifically about what Viv said, I'll hit her up. I would love to know specifically what she said. And I'll say this too. And it's funny because therapy like has helped me with this, man. I've learned about empathy and like kind of being able to see it from both sides in certain aspects. So I understand Black women in particular who had real issues with Kevin Samuels, right? I get that. I get it. Because, and let me make sure I say this, I'm all about accountability, keeping it real. That's what because I didn't follow him too much. I've seen a few videos that went viral, but I'll be honest, I didn't follow him enough to really form a solid opinion like on the man and what his platform was about. The videos I saw, they were spicy. They were spicy, and you know and there's a fine line between accountability and then just straight up trashing somebody. I feel like just straight up like just, you know, you can hold people accountable. I think that's a great message to put, men and women, by the way. But at the moment of like, I think insults and, you know, like I could say to y'all, right? Hey man, I think that old girl should lower her expectations a bit, without saying, girl, you a two. Like what you talking like? Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm more of a tactful, constructive criticism guy. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, great thoughts. Talk about, you said you got into directing a little bit. Talk about that, man, and how that's been for you, you know, recently getting into directing and producing movies of your own.
Man, honestly, man, it's been amazing, man. It's been challenging, like, cause it's a whole new muscle, man. You know, acting is, when I come on a project as an actor, you know, all of that behind the scenes shit is like taken care of, right? Like the raising the money, casting it, getting the permit, stuff like that. All of that stuff, once an actor gets on board, that stuff is already finito. But when you're a filmmaker, especially an independent filmmaker like myself, I don't got the big studios yet, you know, backing my projects. I got to do crowdfunding and, you know, hitting up family members and, you know, and thankfully, man, I still have maintained really good relationships. Like this last film that I did, shout out to Wendell Pierce, y'all know from The Wire and a bunch of stuff, man. He's one of my best friends. He actually executive produced the film, you know, donated some money. George Tillman donated. So thankfully, I have a bit of a advantage in that aspect because of relationships I built over time. But it's challenging, man. Like this last film we did, y'all, and again, shout out to my mother. Like when she produced the project with me, she handled all of the red tape stuff. So all of the creative stuff, I was able to just focus on. But with this project, bruh, it was not easy. Like there were times that I wanted to quit, you know, getting permits to film in this city and making sure that this was in place, and it was hard, man. It was probably the most challenging thing that I've ever done, but it ended up being the most rewarding thing that I ever done. I would love to send y'all, man, a link to the film so y'all can check it out. And,
Hell yeah,
you know,
be honored.
yeah, tell me what y'all think, man. And I know y'all gonna keep it a buck with me, so I would love to get y'all opinions on it. But it's been a dope experience, man. I mean, I'm not nowhere near where I want to be as a filmmaker, because I do want to be like on that level of Spike Lee and George Tillman and F. Gary Gray, Ryan Coogler. Like, I want to be in that pocket, bro. And y'all know what's his name? Ron Howard. Like, he was from Happy Days. He was an actor back in the day, and now he's a successful filmmaker. That's kind of like if I had like a parallel, it would be something like that, because I'm not really sure of how many Black actors have transitioned to like filmmaking and been like super successful. If y'all know some, man, let me know. But that would kind of be like the parallel that I would want for my directing career.
Let me ask you this, because you started in the game as a young Black child, evolved in the game as a grown Black man. How has the industry treated you and transitioned from being a young Black boy to an adult Black man? How is the industry now looking at Brandon Hammond now that he's a grown man? And how's that been different than when you were a child?
Love the question, man. Honestly, it's mostly great, but I can't say that I feel like sometimes they still look at me as that little boy. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I don't think I'm taken maybe as seriously. Like for example, I'm setting up a meeting about a project, right? I don't, they don't mean to be offensive, but like, oh, that's cute, oh, let's meet about your little project, and that not realizing like how offensive that really sounds, right? But I do think that it's a bit of that, a bit of that, like still seeing me as Ahmad, as that little boy. You making films now? You directing now? Oh, yes, I'm directing, I'm writing. Like I'll pay my dues. Like, I have literally I have asked like, yo, whenever you're doing something, I would love to shadow you. Like, let me make it clear, I don't want a handout. Like, I don't want, just because of our relationship, you just to give to me something. Like, I feel like my writing is dope. I feel like the projects I make are dope. So please hold me to that standard. You know what I mean? Please. But definitely take me as serious as you would take someone else, trying to have a meeting with you. Please, take me that seriously too. So I think it's hit and miss, mostly hit, but there's some misses sometimes with that.
Still with us, brother?
Yep. Can y'all hear me?
I got a phone call, right?
Okay, I think so. I probably did, but I hear y'all. Y'all hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Did y'all catch that? The last thing I said?
Nope. Say that again, brother.
Okay, hold on. Let me make sure. Okay, no, we're good there. Okay. I was just saying that it's hit and miss, but mostly hit, but every now and again it's missed with being taken seriously, with my filmmaking career.
Right. Anything else? We definitely appreciate, man, the great Brandon Hammond on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. We're going to open the floor up now for you. If you got any other announcements, and please drop your social media handles so everybody can reach you at, bro. Appreciate
Definitely, man. So social media handle, man, on Instagram, it's BL_Ham. It's B as in Brandon, L _HAMM. The first 4 letters of my last name, BL Ham. Facebook, Brandon Hammond. Twitter, not on Twitter as much, but it's B_Ham without the L on Twitter. And this film, man, that I've been speaking about, it's called Amaru, and it's inspired by the life of Tupac Shakur. And it's about a young man who after is specifically inspired by the incident in the 90s when Tupac shot two off-duty police officers that were brutalizing an unarmed black man. And our character, Amaru, he discovers that he has a superpower when he also saved the life of an unarmed black man being brutalized by two police officers. And his superpower is that he finds out that he's impervious to white supremacy. So the things that affect black folks don't affect him. So it's and it's funny because it's when y'all watch it, I think y'all it's probably not what y'all are thinking it's gonna be, and I think that's a good thing, man. So yeah, it's a little we put some levity to it, not preachy at all, but I would love for y'all to be the judge of that. But y'all, I just said it for the audience, be on the lookout for that because now we're just hitting the festival, doing the festival run for it. We premiered at the Pan African Film Festival 30th anniversary. We're hoping to just go all over the world with it, man. And we want to turn this into a TV show. So we actually wrote a pilot for it because we do think that it has the legs to be a TV show, man. And lastly, I just want to thank y'all, man, again, for real. Like, honestly, like I say, the space today is kind of saturated with a lot of podcasts, for you guys to find y'all mark, man, like y'all really have made a dent. Like, know that. Like, I have friends that listen to y'all, watch y'all, keep it real with y'all. I just watched the Lord Jamar interview that y'all did. Like I said, I've been following y'all probably at least maybe a year now. And to see like the subscribers, the trajectory of where y'all at in the space, it's inspiring to see. And thank y'all again for having me on, man. For real. Y'all real ones, man. And I appreciate it.
Humbling as hell. And this is why we sat back and we do this, man, to be able to have dope conversation with people that we looked up to or we got to see on screen and be able to converse and hear that you guys appreciate us as well is humbling to another level, man. Thank you so much. And when the movie starts heating up and you start really pushing it out there, please, the door is always open for you to come back on. We got some culture shit we need to talk about. We got some hip hop shit we need to talk about. So
for sure.
Next time you come back on, man, now that we got the history out the way, let's get into some shit, bro. We definitely appreciate you.
Brandon Hammond. Hey, y'all family now, man. So let's do it.
That's dope, man. Appreciate you, bro. Brandon Hammond on the Hip Hop and Censored Podcast. Much love to you, brother. Salute.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate you.
Take it easy, bro.
All right, man. Y'all have a good one. All right. Be safe, too.